I am the wife of Anthony Castor, Don of the Mafia family in New York. When I was 9 months pregnant, he brought a woman named Evelyn Graves into the manor, claiming she'd saved his life. That was the day my nightmare began. She put something in my food. Next thing I knew, I was doubled over in pain. And she had the nerve to blame it on me, said I was being reckless with what I ate. She lost her footing and fell down the stairs, but she told everyone I was the one who shoved her. Every day, she'd cry in front of Anthony about how saving him had left her wounded and unable to bear children, how seeing a pregnant woman broke her heart. But the moment she turned to me, the tears were gone, replaced by a cold smile. As long as I'm here, she whispered, your babies will never be born. Anthony was convinced I was jealous of her. He locked me away in the abandoned attic of the manor and said, reflect on your actions and stop bullying Evelyn. On the first day they shut me in, the contractions began. I screamed, I begged, I banged on the door. The butler heard me and went to inform Anthony. He said, Amelia, your due date is 3 days away. Stop putting on an act. 3 days in a snowstorm and you came out fine. You can handle this. On the second day, my water broke. I screamed at the top of my lungs, my fingernails digging into the cracks of the wall, blood spilling all over the floor. The butler went to Anthony again. Evelyn said, Anthony, she's making all that noise because she wants you to feel sorry for her and let her out. If you give in now, she'll only grow more reckless later. He believed her. On the third day, I stopped screaming. Anthony thought I had finally learned my lesson, unaware that I had already died from the difficult labor. When he finally opened that door, all he would find was my rotting, putrid body. Chapter 1. When the searing pain finally left my body, I knew I was dead. Now my soul floated in the attic, looking down at my own body. The floor was covered in dried, black blood, spreading from under my body to the door, seeping through the gap beneath it, and trickling down the stairs. The walls were gouged with black claw marks from my fingernails, deep grooves, some showing through to the plaster beneath. In my agony before death, I had clawed and scratched at those walls like a madwoman. When the pain drove me crazy, I even smashed my head against them just to stay awake. I was covered in blood then. Now it had blackened and turned foul. I was curled in the corner, my body twisted grotesquely, my eyes still wide open, fixed on the door that was locked from the outside. The same door I had banged on, screamed at, and begged at for 3 days straight. Today was the 4th day. My due date. That was the day Anthony promised to come and let me out. But he never showed up. My soul drifted out of the attic and down to the manor's dining room. Anthony and Evelyn were eating. Evelyn sat across from him, a triumphant smile on her lip. Anthony, aren't you going to pick up Amelia today? He hummed in acknowledgement, not looking up from his food. Evelyn's expression shifted to one of sadness. After she comes out, I'll move out. Anthony looked up at her. Her eyes glistened with tears. I know Amelia doesn't want me here. As soon as she's out, I'll leave right away so I won't be a bother to you too. No need, Anthony said. You were injured saving me and can't have children because of it. I'll take care of you. Evelyn's eyes lit up, but she quickly resumed her pitiful look. But Amelia will be angry. She said last time I was an outsider who didn't belong here. Anthony's spoon paused in his hand. She said that? Evelyn nodded, tears streaming down her face. She said I was staying here because I wanted to seduce you. And she said she was carrying your babies, that she was the mistress of this house, and I should know my place and get out on my own. Anthony set down his spoon, his face darkening. Evelyn looked up at him with tearful eyes. Anthony, I never meant to seduce you. I'm staying here to recover, she cried pitifully. Anthony spoke gently. I know. Stop crying. Don't worry. Even if she does get angry, I'll protect you. I won't let anyone bully you. My soul floated nearby, watching the scene, feeling nothing but revulsion. If I were still alive, I would have lunged at Evelyn and torn her face to shreds. I had never spoken a harsh word to her. I had always treated her like an honored guest, and this was how she repaid me. When was this supposed to have happened? Once, she walked into my room and said, there is only one Mrs. Castor, and that's me. I replied, you should know your place. Then she ran crying to Anthony, claiming I had scolded her. Another time, she deliberately spilled soup on herself, then screamed that I had pushed her. When Anthony rushed in, she cowered in his arms, trembling like a startled fawn. Anthony flew into a rage. You know how upset she gets when she sees a pregnant woman. How could you do this to her? You vicious woman. I'm locking you in the attic. You can sit there and reflect on your behavior. I screamed in desperation. Anthony, I'm about to give birth. You can't lock me up. Evelyn sobbed in Anthony's arms. Amelia, you still have 3 days until your due date. Are you using this as an excuse to stay out of the attic so you can keep torturing me? In the end, Anthony ignored my pleas and threw me into the attic. No matter how much I pleaded, he wouldn't open the door. He didn't believe a word I said, but every time Evelyn lied to him, he believed every word. Chapter 2. The butler stepped forward beside the dining table, hesitating to speak. Anthony glanced at him. What is it? Evelyn asked with concern. Enzo, what's wrong? Is it about Amelia? The butler's face was ashen. Don Anthony, your wife hasn't made a sound since last night. Should we open the door and check on her? I stirred with sudden hope. Come on, Anthony, come see me. Anthony rose at once, worry creasing his face. We'll go right now. Evelyn frowned, then quickly mirrored his urgency, standing as well. Let's go see. I remember Amelia survived a whole week in the wilderness with no trouble just to complete a family mission. Why would she go silent after just 3 days? I hope she isn't faking this just to make you worry. At those words, Anthony stopped mid-step. She was yelling and crying for the first 2 days. She sounded pretty strong to me. I'm afraid if I show up now, she might lash out at me again. Evelyn spoke with a sigh, and slowly, Anthony sat back down. He frowned. You're right. She can handle herself in the wilderness. The attic is safe. She's fine. It's all an act. I've heard pregnant women shouldn't have mood swings. It can affect the baby. But she hates me so much. These 3 days, she's probably been thinking of ways to torment me once she's out. If I could get pregnant, I'd let her torment me all she wanted. But my body. Evelyn lowered her head, her voice fading, her eyes reddening again. Anthony looked at her, a flicker of guilt in his eyes. Don't think like that. Evelyn wiped her tears and forced a smile. All right, I won't. I'm sure Amelia is fine. Right now, I just need to focus on recovering. I want to be as strong as she is. I listened to their exchange, and all I could think was how absurd it all was. In their minds, my good health and survival skills made me indestructible. I'd lasted 3 days in a snowstorm, so 3 days locked in an attic? That was nothing. While I was enduring contractions and pounding on the door, he was eating breakfast downstairs. While I was screaming for help, he was in his study handling paperwork. While I was bleeding out and taking my last breath, he was at Evelyn's side, gently urging her to drink warm milk before bed. He knew nothing about my suffering, because he didn't want to know. The butler hesitated, then ventured, Don Anthony, are we going to pick up your wife later? Should I make preparations in advance? Anthony replied casually, push it to this afternoon. I have a meeting with the Corleone family about the docs this morning. The butler nodded in acknowledgement. Then I'll have the car ready to take your wife to the hospital. Evelyn thought for a moment and leaned closer. Anthony, let me go with you to get Amelia. I want to apologize to her in person for the trouble I've caused these past few days. Anthony glanced at her. Why would you apologize? Amelia probably thinks I'm the reason she was locked up. I want to clear things up. A frown creased Anthony's face. No need. If she misunderstands you, that's her problem. You don't owe her an apology. Evelyn shook her head, tears welling in her eyes again. No, I have to apologize. I don't want my presence to ruin your relationship. Anthony relented, saying, fine, go get ready. Evelyn suddenly said in a quiet voice, I don't have anything nice to wear. I saw a lot of clothes in Amelia's closet that she never wears. Could I borrow something? Sure, whatever you like. With Anthony's permission, Evelyn walked to my room, wearing a victorious smirk. She pulled dresses from my closet and stood before the mirror, cutting them apart, one by one. She murmured, Amelia, what are you doing in the attic right now? Are you hungry? Thirsty? Does your stomach hurt? Her eyes were vicious as she handled the expensive garments. Anthony hasn't come to see you even once. I told him locking up a pregnant woman for a few days was fine. You're strong. You could handle it. I told him all that yelling was just an act, that you were trying to make him feel sorry for you. I told him if something were really wrong, you'd have sent word. You didn't, so you must be okay. Guess what he said? She smiled at her reflection before continuing. He said women understand women. He'd listen to me. She laughed out loud, her whole body shaking with delight. Amelia, oh Amelia. All that suffering to carry his babies. What good did it do? He believes me. Not you. She stood up, walked to the jewelry cabinet, picked out the diamond ring Anthony had bought me for our wedding, and slipped it on her finger. If something happens to you, I'll give Anthony a performance. I'll wrap myself around him and sob, asking how something so terrible could have happened to you. I'll tell him no one knew you'd go into labor early. It's not his fault. He'll believe me. He believes everything I say. I floated beside her, staring at that smug face, overwhelmed with disgust. But I couldn't touch her. All I could do was watch.